So today is May 11th, and we're hosting our final MyGinnieMae portal training for organization administrators. Today's session does target our document custodians. However, the content that will be presented will be applicable to a broad audience. So if you're a user of the portal, primarily an organization administrator in MyGinnieMae, you should find this content helpful. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so today we're going to run over some objectives that we want to accomplish with today's training. We're going to give you an overview of the Access Management Console user manual and how to use it. We're going to show you the MyGinnieMae onboarding workflow just to refresh your memory. And then we're going to talk to you about some org admin controls and what you can do to manage an end user account. We're going to give you a video demonstration of the user management tile in the Access Management Console, and we'll show you how you can review the status of an access request or a functional role request. We're going to show you how to add or remove a functional role. We're going to show you how to update a user's profile attributes, including their RSA token number, how to unlock and lock a user account, enable and disable a user account, and how to reset a user's password if they need some assistance with that. We'll also provide you a short video demonstration on how to access our security reports. There's an AMC functional role request history report that I'm sure you will find very valuable, and we'll show you that one. And then also how you can create a list of the active user accounts in your organization in case you need to create something like that for auditing purposes. We'll direct you to some resources for additional information. And then as always, we will end with an open question and answer session where you're welcome to ask us questions. We have technical experts on the line. Wade Gale and Tawheed Ali of the Bank of New York Mellon are with us, and they are here to assist in answering the questions that you might have. Next slide. Okay, so what we want to do with today's training is we want to provide you some guidance on how to review the status of an account access request. So once you, the organization administrator, have onboarded an end user and you've made a request for them to get a functional role, how do you track the status of that request, as it's going through the approval workflow? We're going to give you some information about end user account management functions and show you, as I mentioned, how to complete some of those actions. We're going to give you some information on troubleshooting and where you can go to get help if you as an org admin are having some problems navigating some of the functions that you have the ability to navigate. And we're going to show you an overview of those reports, as I already mentioned. Next slide. So here is a brief snippet from the AMC user manual. If you have not already retrieved the Access Management Console user manual, the AMC user manual, I strongly encourage you to do so. As an organization administrator, it provides you step-by-step instructions on key functions, like how you send a user invitation and set up and create an account. But when it comes time to manage those accounts, it also provides you information on, how to manage and maintain those end user accounts and how to troubleshoot different items. It also shows you how to access those administrative reports. So I strongly encourage you to go to the modernization page of the GinnieMae website, ginniemay.gov, and grab a copy of that user manual. We are going to be updating it shortly with some additional information and updated screenshots. So there will be an update coming, but there's a lot of information that's in there and relevant to you today. So go to ginniemay.gov. It's on the modernization page, and you will find that AMC Access Management Console user manual there. You will also find the MyGinnieMae Getting Started user manual, which is a general guide for how to get started in the portal. And end users of the portal will also find the information in that particular user guide helpful. Next slide. So just a reminder of the onboarding workflow, just to help frame what we're going to talk about today. There is a registration workflow and an access workflow. That registration workflow is where an org admin requests and sends a registration invitation request to an end user who completes the registration form, and a second org admin approves that form, thereby creating an account in MyGinnieMae. That's the registration workflow. Then there's the access workflow, where the org admin makes a request for a functional role and a second org admin approves that functional role before the operations administrator finalizes that functional role. And that is the access workflow. So you're only going to create that user account for an end user one time. So for any one end user, generally, you're only going to go through that registration workflow once. But throughout the life cycle of that employee's tenure and use of MyGinnieMae portal, they might need to have a new functional role assigned. If their job functions change, you know, if so on and so forth, you might need to provide them an additional functional role. And we're going to talk to you about the steps to add and remove a functional role once that account has been created. Very similar to the workflow that you've already engaged in, just want to kind of remind you of what those steps are in that separate engagement of that workflow. Next slide. Okay, so here are some of the functions that we're going to talk about today. As a reminder, the stars on this you know, table talk to you about, you know, the functions that you as an organization administrator are able to complete on behalf of an end user account. It also talks about the self-service functions that an end user can manage on their own without your assistance. And of course, our operations administrator, you know, has a role in finalizing your functional role requests. But what we're going to focus on today are the red circles. So we're going to talk to you and show you how to remove a functional role from an end user account, how to enable and disable, lock and unlock end user accounts, and how to reset a user's password, as well as how to update account attributes such as their business title, phone number, or to add an RSA token. So those are the things that we're going to focus on today. Next slide. Okay, so the last time we had training for this group of organization administrators, we talked to you about new user registration, and we also talked to you a little bit about access requests. But today we're going to focus on user management. So among those tiles that you have the ability to access as an organization administrator in the MyGinnieMae portal via the Access Management Console, it's that user management tile that you see outlined in red that we're going to focus on today. So the functions that we'll demonstrate, you will go to the AMC and click user management tile in order to navigate those functions. Next slide. Okay, so once you hit that, I'm sorry, I should say, before you hit that user management tile, if what you're trying to do is retrieve reports, you'd go to the top of the screen where it says links and then drop down to security reports. And that's where you would access the security reports that we're going to talk to you about a little bit later on in this presentation. We do have a list here of reports that are available via the Access Management Console. One of the key reports that we'll go over is that AMC Functional Role Request History Report. But we will talk to you about those. So aside from all those tasks under the user management tile that we're going to demonstrate, there is this link up here this link at the top of the screen called Security Reports that you would access just a little bit differently, and we wanted to show you the navigation to that item. Next slide. Okay, so now it's time for a video demonstration.
I'm sure everybody right now is actually has org admins. You have been actually setting up your users, giving them the functional roles they need, do the approvals, and waiting for us to do the finalization. So we're just going to give you an idea of what, of course, those are the 4 tiles that everybody would see. And as the teacher said, we'll be concentrated mostly on the user management section. So that's where we're going to do most of your managing your end users. So Tony, can we click on that box? First, we're going to, when we do get in, we're going to go in to look at some of the statuses that you might have noticed over your last 3 weeks, 4 weeks of actually getting your end users into the system. Once an access required is submitted, the system adds the functional roles to the user profile. with a status of pending. Of course, the role is not provisioned to the user unless necessary approvals are completed. Of course, you have heard us say so many times, you add the role, a second org admin has to go in and do the approval, then it has to come to us at BNY Mellon as the ops admin to do the finalization. So we're going to go down to the section that has the manage user permissions, and that's where you'll see these are the roles that were initially set up by the org admin, and we're just going to check through some of the statuses that you might see. We have a pending status. If there's a pending status there, that means that function role requested is submitted and awaiting org admin approval. Then you have an approved status. That's the functional role is approved and awaiting operation admin action. Then we have a finalized status. That means functional role request has been finalized by the by the ops administrator. That's BNY Mellon. You have a confirmed status. The underlying role has been fully assigned to the users. So those are some of the roles that some of the statuses, I should say, that you'll see as part of your process. I notice we have another one on the system that says revoke, since we'll just talk about it, because you might have could have entered this by mistake. And you want to make sure that Wade Gale doesn't need this functional role, so you can actually go in as a org admin and revoke that role. And since I'm on this, I just want to say something. I've noticed over the couple of sessions or activity that we've been doing here at BNY Mellon as the ops admin, we notice that users tend to give the end user an authorized signer role and a basic user role. And if you don't need to actually give both. If you're an authorized signer, you don't need to actually get the basic user role, because all of those functionality are actually a part of the authorized signer. And so just want to let you know that, so you don't have to clutter your desktop with all those unnecessary functional roles if you don't need them. So that's just one of the things. One more thing we want to make sure you understand this process is also by clicking by the role name, it also gives you the role display overlay. So it gives you an idea. You can track the information here. So it tells you display the name of the roles, give the request date, the requester, the approval date, the approver, the finalized date, the finalizer, and then the final thing is the status. So you can actually check this on your own to be sure that everything does show it as confirmed. So you can do that for all the functional roles that were given to your end users. After that's done, you can actually close that. So you really want to concentrate, just make sure you do have the statuses right. If you see something pending, you definitely have to reach out to your next org admin and say, hey, you need to go in and do your due diligence on this so this role can be fully operational. Because of course Letitia had shown you the process flow. So there's certain things everybody has to touch something before it can be functional, before it can work for the end user. So you just want to make sure everybody gets into that. Okay. So now we're into the add the functional role. If an end user requires a new functional role, they may be done from the user management tile in the AMC. So, Tony, can you just go down and see it? Right now, this is a section where it says request access. You should be able to go in there and click on that and go straight to set it up, find those functional roles for that user, and actually give that person the functional roles that's needed as part of their to process their daily work. So you should be able to do that there from that screen. The picture that we're showing now does not give us access, but you should be able to. Toy, do we have any user that we can show them that it just goes straight to that? And I'm putting you on the spot right now.
Let's see. Oh, I have another account we can use.
That one doesn't show it either. Yes. Okay, good. There, so right from that screen, you can click on Request Access. And what it does, it takes you right into, for you to do those functional request access. So you don't have to, if you're currently in this screen, you don't have to get out and go to that tile that says Access. So you just can go in and do it from right here. And just a reminder, we're in UAT, so it takes a while before it spins and gets to that page. Cool, there it is. Now, as a org admin, you can go in and do your functional role selection for that user. So this is just another way of getting to that access tile, so you don't have to actually go out and click on the tile itself. Okay, the next thing we have to do is, it says remove a functional role. If an end user is no longer required access to a specific functional role, possibly because their business responsibility might have changed, organization admin are responsible to removing that role from the user account. This may be done within the management user permission section. We're going to go to Harry Wade and see, after looking through Harry Wade, we find out that Harry Wade does not need basic, he actually doesn't do loan delivery, none at all. But they gave him both, no, he does loan delivery. Let me change that. He does loan delivery, and what I'd mentioned earlier, but he's not so we need to get rid of the basic user role. So we're going to, first we do the select, and then we do remove. And then we want to do, are you sure you want to remove this? Of course, it gives you, make sure that's what you want to do. And then once, if you agree, you click and confirm. And then, of course, it goes through its own little stuff behind the scenes so that information can. So does the org admin, the second one, need to approve this?
No, once it's removed, it will be in revoked status.
Okay, good. So this might be something that org admin might be doing as they go along in setting up the process for the end users. It could be just a regular mistake, or I should not have given Wade that access at all. Let me just go in and remove it. So you do have the ability to change that, and that's the remove the functional role from that screen. Okay. We've actually removed the functional role. The status should have changed, but of course it takes a while. We're in UAT, so it would have changed to revoked. That's what we're actually looking for. So you see that revoked action there. That's what is going to come up on that user's screen. Okay, we have done that. We have done the revoked, and then we realize that this user wants to do some update to their profile. There are certain things you can touch here as an org admin. There's certain things we don't allow you to. Like anything in gray is grayed out, so you won't be able to go into those fields. You notice once you point to it, you get a little red circle and a line in between. But you can change a person's title. if you want to change that. And also, initially when you were setting up this user, you did not give them their RSA token information. Now you can also do that. So if you click on yes, it's now required you put in that 9-digit RSA token serial number that's on the back of your current RSA fob. So you'll find it and you put that in. If the person wants their, okay, there's that number. The person wants their mobile phone number there, you can actually add that also. And their work number, if by some, we just put in the wrong number there, they can go in and make changes to that screen. So those are some of the fields you can make changes to. And if it's not in the right format, you'll also get a message in red at the bottom saying it doesn't fit the format that it's looking for. So that's updating. And you want to make sure once that's done, once you update, you want to make sure you save that record. Tori, did you want to say something here about the RSA token?
Yes, thank you, Wade. Just a few things here where you enter your RSA token. There is an email that is sent out to the org admins. So say when you first register and you enter your serial number during the registration, an email will be sent out to operations to associate that token to your account. But however, just like this user who did not enter their serial number, the org admin has the ability to enter it for them, and doing so every time a new functional role is assigned to this user, the org admin will receive an email requesting to provide the token serial number and send it to operations to associate. And a quick example I will share on this screen is the email that you would receive as an org admin here, asking you to provide your serial number with the user's information and their GMAP1 ID and GinnieNet ID. Another quick thing for you to note here is that you'll be able to deregister the Oracle Mobile Authenticator for any reason if the user is not able to do it themselves, which they do have the ability to. You can assist and deregister their account here. And this is used for the one-time PIN when you opt in instead of the email. That was it. Wade, you can continue. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And just to piggyback on that a little bit, it's org admins. It's very, very important that you pay attention to those emails, especially the RSA token ones, because if you initially had set up your RSA token for that user, we'll get that information straight so we can do the provision. But once you edit and go back in and add that token, the workflow doesn't follow the full steps. So the information is going to come to you, and you as the org admin need to follow the instructions and get that information to us at BNY Mellon so that user can be provisioned and they have access to do their submission, either being in RFS when they're doing their certification or on GinnieNet or MFPDM when they're doing their pool submissions. Okay, now this is a common question that we used to get. I notice I said used to because in the system now it's supposed to be self-service, or all of these administrative functions is now supposed to happen in the org admin space. And I'm talking about unlock or locked accounts. We do get it a lot, so I'll just try and give you some explanation here. A user can become automatically locked out of their account due to 3 failed password attempts, or if an org admin has manually locked the account via AMC. Locking a user's account is a temporary action and can be reverted. So right at the bottom there, you see the word lock. So we can actually, for instance, we can lock your account if we want to, because it could be that person has not been in for a while, or the person might be moving on to a different job, so we can do that lock. Confirm that it's locked. And of course, we want to see that the status say user successfully locked. And of course, again, we're in the UAT, so it does take a while to change. And you notice you'll see that's the sign that tells you lock. You see that padlock there? That will give you the clue that it's locked. And if you point at it again to you, it says locked. So that user is currently locked. So let's see if we can go in and unlock that person. And of course, you'll get that message when the user is trying to log in. Right now, you see it says they're unlocked. So let's click on unlock so that person can get access to logging into MGM and continue to do their workflow. So again, those are some of the things that you're going to say, oh, let me call Wade's team. Yeah, Wade's team is going to say, uh-oh, we can't do this anymore. It's have to be your responsibility now to unlock your end users. If you had called us as a org admin, we're willing to help you on doing that. But we're going to defer those requests on your end users. It will be now your responsibility to do that. But you can always call us and say hi. We'll appreciate it any time. Okay. Now, another thing is going through disable and enable a user. A user account may become automatically disabled due to the 90 days of inactivity. Enable the account and advise the user to log into Gen within 24 hours once their account has been enabled. That's a real thing you want to make sure you tell your users. Not because we're going to enable your account. If you have not logged in, if the end user did not log in after that account has been enabled, it's going to go right back to the original status of disable again. So you just want to make sure you are aware of that. Or the account will often be disabled again. So, of course, you want to be sure that that doesn't happen. Org admin should manually disable a user account if the user has left the organization or the other organization-specific reasons, such as a change in role. Of course, that person does not use MGM anymore because they have moved on. You want to disable them from the system. And let's show. I'm sorry, Toyd. I think I'm talking too much, so you're ahead of me. Disable. This user is disabled. We go in and click on disable and disable the account. And Toyd, what happened here when the accounts are disabled? What happened to those functional roles?
So once a user is disabled, all the functional roles will go to the status where it'll be revoked, and so or missing. And if that happens, and somehow the user does come back to the organization, those functional roles will have to be re-requested.
Good, thank you, sir. So yes, that is true. You're gonna, when you go into that screen, you're gonna notice that the roles might say missing, and you'll have to re-request them, and then have to go through the function of being approved again, and then finalize so that person can have full access. So you just want to keep in mind that. And again, enable, disable, all the responsibility of our new org admin to MGM, and you guys are going to have fun doing this, I'm sure. Okay, next one, enable. that person now should have access. And of course, we always encourage, after 90 days, your account is going to get disabled if you're not if you're not logging in the account on a regular basis. And I think is on the 81st day, you start getting notices. So you want to also pay attention to those notices, because you're going to get a reminder your account is getting ready to be expired, or whatever they paraphrased in the actual notice. But I think it's on the 81st day you start getting notices in reference to that. Okay, so we have enabled that user, and now the next thing you have enabled the user, and now the user does not remember their password, and that is such a common occurrence as in my world, in terms of calls that we get sometimes. I don't remember my password, so we'll tell you what you can do here. And again, this is not something you'll call us for the end users. It will be strictly you taking care of them in your space. The service is used as an event that the user has forgotten their password and is unable to reset using the self-service capabilities, or they suspect their account has been compromised. So you can go in right where you see the word right up there, it says, or the tab, reset password. You're going to click on that, and what happens right there, are you sure you want to reset a password? For a user, a new randomly generated password will be created and emailed to the user. So the user will have to look out for that password. It's not like in the GinnieNet space that the password is generated and you tell them what it is. In GMAP, the password is generated and you either copy it and send it to them via email. No, this password is going to be sent straight to their email and they would have to retrieve that password and put it in the new system and also generate a new one. So that's a little bit different. So this is all you're doing now. It's not us anymore at BNY Mellon as an org, as an ops admin. It's going to be your responsibility to reset the users if they could not do it through self-service. Password was reset successfully. Okay, so we have done some little managing activities there: reset password, unlock, enable, update profile. Now, we as org admin also have some other responsibilities, because you might want some reports on your end users. As Letitia had mentioned earlier, you go to link and then you choose security reports. On the security reports, you're going to go to where it says the catalog folder. And we're going to choose the administrative folder. And this one here, we're going to look at the AMC functional role request history report. So that's one of the reports that we want you to look at. And of course, this is where you have all the other reports if you want. So we're just going to check on that. And as Toya is pointing to open, so let's click on open. And it's processing. So this is the report that comes up and show you information on your actual users. Toya, do you want to explain this a little bit more than I can? I know I might miss something.
Sure, Wade. So once you select the report you want to see, the system will generate, and here you will have a layout with the different columns of different information. So you see you have your require ID, user login, role name, role type, and you can filter this report based on the column. So if you click here on the drop down You can select a specific user, or you can select in ascending or descending order based on how you want to see your report. And this goes same for, say, the approver or the date or whichever column you would like. Now, you also have the option to export this report into PDF or Excel. Now, do note when you do export to Excel, the report will not generate the way you would see it after you sort or filter on your screen. You will have to do the filtration on Excel. And the way you would do it is by clicking here, where you have different options such as PDF, HTML, or Excel, like I mentioned. Wait.
Okay, thank you. And there's one more report we want to show you, so you can get an idea what. And this is the how to create an active user account report. So that one we're going to go to the Oracle. We're going to click on where it says Home Organization User Lists by Org Admin View. We're going to open those. We're just giving you an idea what some of the reports are. So this one kind of give you all the users that are actually enrolled in your home org and Toid.
So here, like I mentioned earlier, you will have the option to say you want to only see the active users. You can just select active. Oops, I'm sorry. Let me do that again. So for the status, you can select here that you only want to see active users. So you can select active and click OK. So this report will only show the active users. And the same applies if you want to see the disabled users. So here you'll see the list, and every single person here is disabled.
And what about if you're in the section that says org admin? If you want to know anybody who's org admin, what is that the same thing by yes or no?
Yes, so it's the same option. So the reason you see no here is because there is no other org admin, which is why only no is available. But if there was, that is, again, you have to note that only the disabled users. So there is another org admin, but that person is not disabled. That is why you're not seeing it here. So say if we were to go back to selecting all active and disabled, and then going back to the org admin, you now will have yes or no option.
Cool. Okay. So just want to, again, as the org admin, just want to, you have the ability to go in and print some of your report. Maybe you might even be able to customize them just to suit your needs. Of course, we have some of the reports. Home org user list report, that's a custom report. You have user profile history, that's a standard report. User registration request history, that's a custom report. So you can go in and print accordingly, because some of them might be because of auditing purposes. Sometimes auditors want to know who are the ones who are logged in, or the ones who got messed up with their passwords. So you can have different reports to suit your internal company's need. So I think that was our little journey. I hope it wasn't too bumpy. I hope you were able to. I think we navigated okay. We just might have missed a couple stoplights there, but I think we got through okay. So happy MGM, and I'm going to pass it on back.
Back to me. Okay, So just a little bit more information before we open up for the question and answer session. There's several, we know that there are additional functions that you'll have to manage as an organization administrator that you're not accustomed to managing on behalf of your end users. Do know that the GinnieMae customer support team is still able to assist you as an organization administrator and guide you through some of those steps. However, there are several resources that are available. We have the user manuals that I spoke about earlier. The Access Management Console user manual, AMC user manual, is available and has step-by-step instructions on how to complete these actions. There's quick reference cards that we are updating. We're actually going to be providing a lot of new quick reference cards for your easy reference on many of these functions. You do have the overview from today's training that's posted on the GinnieMae website and the modernization section. We also have our training recording for today's session, and other sessions will be posted on the modernization page of the GinnieMae website. So you can actually turn back to that and reference information that was provided to you in today's training there. And we have weekly listening sessions happening through the end of May. So it's an hour-long listening session where you can dial in, ask us any questions. There are experts on hand, and we're happy to provide you any new information that we have about MyGinnieMae, as well as collect your questions and feedback. So we host those sessions every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. If you go to the modernization page of the GinnieMae website, the call details for the weekly listening sessions are there, and you can join us that way. Again, as I mentioned, GinnieMae customer support at the Bank of New York Mellon on behalf of GinnieMae is happy to walk you through any actions that you might need to take as an organization administrator. You can reach them at 1-833-466-2435 or GinnieMae1 at bnymellon.com. And if you have some overarching questions about, the onboarding effort, when we're disabling legacy credentials, or anything about the timing and training and user materials, please reach out to the GinnieMae Customer Experience Group at cxg@hud.gov. So again, just to clarify, your technical questions can go to GinnieMae Customer Support. And your general questions about training and user materials, are welcome at cxg@hud.gov. That's the most efficient way to get your questions answered. Next slide. Okay, so before we're not going to go into the appendix, but if you do access this presentation on the GinnieMae website, there is an appendix that has additional information for you. So before we launch into the question and answer session, as I always mention, we take your feedback very, very seriously, and your feedback regarding these sessions and the information we've provided, any additional sessions you'd like to see us offer, please provide that for us. Ian is about to post a link in the chat on how you can complete that survey. Just take a couple minutes. It's a really quick survey, and let us know what you thought, and how we might be able to provide additional information to assist you as a new user of the MyGinnieMae portal. So we're going to open up for a question and answer, and there's several ways you can join us. The bottom of your screen, there is a Q&A box, and you can click on that and type a question to us if you would like to type a question, or if you want to ask your question over the computer audio. You join today's session using your computer audio. The bottom of the screen, if you raise your hand, it'll let us know that you'd like to ask a question, and we can unmute your line. If you join today's call by phone, *9 will indicate that you would like us to unmute your line so you can ask a question. So again, go ahead and type it in that chat. I'm sorry, the Q&A, or raise your hand from the bottom of the screen, or hit *9 if you're on a phone line to let us know that you would like to ask a question. Okay. Oh, Keisha, great question. So Keisha asks, if someone's last name changes due to marriage or divorce, will we not have the option to change it? I'm so glad you were paying attention and you did notice those grayed out fields. That is a fantastic question. And the answer is no, you are not able to change a user's name once an account has established. What you would have to do is you would have to contact GinnieMae customer support. And there's a couple of different things that could happen. It would depend on if the user's email address has changed. If their email address has not changed, GinnieMae customer support will attempt to assist you in getting that information updated. But if the user's email address has changed, you will need to re-register them for a new account in MyGinnieMae, and we will, connect those accounts once it's been created. And you'll need to, again, reach out to GinnieMae customer support because they would need to take action with the old account. That is it was designed that way sort of on purpose, but it's to ensure that users are not able to register for multiple accounts. We don't want you doing that. So as an audit trail mechanism, you do have to create a new account, but we'll still be able to audit all of the activity under those accounts for that user, even if their name does change. So bottom line is no, Keisha, you'll not be able to update the name on the account. You also cannot update the email address on the account. You would need to contact GinnieMae customer support, and they will assist you in the instructions of the actions that'll need to be taken to get that user straightened out. Okay, great question, Keisha, thank you. Any other questions on the line?
No, nothing on the phone yet.
Okay, we're gonna hang on for just another moment to make sure that we've answered all of your questions. So again, go ahead and type it in the Q&A if you'd like us to read your question over the Q&A, or you can drop down and select raise your hand to answer the question over your computer audio if you joined today via computer audio. If you dialed in by phone, it's *9 to let us know that you would like to ask a question. So again, type it into that Q&A or help us to unmute your line. Okay, no worries, Keisha. So Keisha's asking about when all of this rolls out. If you are a first-time joiner to our training events, I'm so sorry that it's our last training event that you get the opportunity to let us entertain you for a short period of time. But the portal is already in production. It has been in production for 2 years, and it has been rolled out. All of the organization administrators for every organization that does business with GinnieMae has already received an invitation to set up an account in the portal. If you are formerly a security officer or enrollment administrator in our legacy systems, you should have received an invitation via email to become an organization administrator in MyGinnieMae. You did not receive that invitation, or if you let it expire, because those invitations are only valid for 24 hours, please email GinnieMae1@bnymellon.com to get a new invitation. Okay, great, Keisha, thank you. Once you, as an organization administrator, have your account set up, you want to begin onboarding the users for your organization. Those users will need to be onboarded by you. We are not taking any action to onboard end users from your organization into MyGinnieMae. You will need to set up all of those user accounts and provide them functional roles. One thing to note, if you're an organization administrator who's assigning functional roles, please be judicious and cautious in the roles that you're assigning. You should not be assigning every single functional role available to an end user unless it is their job to complete every single business function on behalf of your organization. That is a red flag to the operations administrator, and we will take action to make sure that that user has been properly set up. So please make sure that you are not assigning more access than the user requires. That is a violation of the least privilege principle, which you as an organization administrator have agreed to abide by. So you should not be giving users more access than they require. If you have done so and you realize that you may have applied a functional rule that you shouldn't have, we provided you the instructions today in the session on how to remove a functional rule. You can do so at any time. It only requires one organization administrator to take that action, and you're free to go in and remove any additional access you may have accidentally or inadvertently requested and approved. Something else to note, a common error in assigning functional rules. If a user is an authorized signer, they only need the authorized signer functional role for that function. They do not need the basic user functional role. That access is already encompassed in the authorized signer functional role. So again, if we see you assigning both the basic user and authorized signer functional roles for the same functions to an end user, it's an indication that you've not set the user up properly, and you just might get a phone call from Wade Gale, Bank of New York Mellon, and his team. So please make sure that you're not providing additional access and that you're not assigning both of those functional roles. And also make sure that if you have done so, that you go in and manage that user's account by removing that access. Okay. Any other questions on the line?
Nope, not at this time.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We are always available to you. Again, those Thursday weekly listening sessions are quite helpful. We have very good dialogue and information exchange with your peers in those sessions. So we'll be hosting those throughout the month of May, every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, if you go to GinnieMae.gov and you hover over the Issuers tab, under Issuer Training is a page called Modernization. And in the MyGinnieMae section is a wealth of information, including the recording from today's call, the user manuals, and the details, the call-in details for those weekly listening sessions. So please do join us there. If you have any technical questions as you're beginning to onboard your users, don't hesitate to reach out to GinnieMae Customer Support. And as always, the Customer Experience Group at GinnieMae is happy to receive your feedback and input and any issues that you might be having at cxg@hud.gov. Have a wonderful day and stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.